Hello, my friend, and welcome. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders rest. Tonight, we travel back to ancient Rome, where dust rose from broken streets and power changed hands in fear and fire. Imagine a tired soldier, hardened by war, stepping into a wounded empire. He was not born the most glamorous man in Rome. He was not the obvious choice. So how did this quiet, disciplined soldier become the emperor who began building Rome's greatest arena? And what can his story teach us as we learn English? One clear sentence at a time. Before we begin, please tell me your country and your local time in the comments. And if you enjoy calm English stories like this, please subscribe and join me for the journey. Imagine Rome at a moment of great strain. The empire was vast. Its roads stretched far. Its armies guarded lands from Britain to the Middle East. But beneath that grand picture, fear and uncertainty were growing. Rome looked strong from the outside. Its monuments stood tall. Its leaders wore purple. Its people still spoke of glory. Yet the heart of the empire was becoming restless and tired. Not long before, Emperor Nero had ruled with luxury, spectacle, and suspicion. He built for himself. He demanded attention. And while some admired the beauty around him, many others saw waste, distance, and a ruler who no longer understood the suffering of ordinary people. Then came collapse. Nero died. Power broke apart. In a single year, Rome saw emperor after emperor rise and fall, each one struggling to hold the state together, while soldiers, senators, and provinces all pulled in different directions. This was not only a political crisis, it was a crisis of trust. Who could lead Rome now? Who could calm the armies, steady the money, and make the people believe that the empire still had a future? Imagine the streets. Merchants whispered, citizens waited. Every rumor felt dangerous, because in uncertain times, even silence can carry fear. Rome did not need another dreamer. It did not need another man lost in luxury. It needed someone practical, someone who understood mud, hunger, marching, and the hard lessons of real life. It needed a leader who knew how to rebuild after damage, not with beautiful words alone, not with golden promises, but with discipline, patience, and work that ordinary people could see with their own eyes. That is the world our story enters. A wounded empire, a tired people, and somewhere beyond the shining image of Rome, a soldier was moving closer to power, though few yet understood what he would one day build. Vespasian did not come from the most glittering corner of Roman life. He was not known for charm. He was not famous for beauty. He did not enter history as a golden prince raised among soft voices and polished marble. His family was respectable, but not dazzling. They were hard-working. They were practical. They understood duty, money, land, and the steady effort needed to climb in a world ruled by rank. That beginning mattered. It shaped his eyes. It shaped his habits. While others learned elegance, Vespasian learned how real life felt to ordinary Romans who worked, worried, and endured. Imagine the young man watching the empire around him. Rome rewarded ambition. Rome admired strength. But Rome could also be cruel, and anyone who wanted to rise had to prove himself again and again. So he chose the path of service. He entered public life. He entered military life. And there, in camps and marches, he found the world that would form him most deeply. A soldier's life was not soft. It demanded obedience. It demanded stamina. You woke early, moved fast, and learned that comfort could disappear with the weather, the road, or the next command. Vespasian was not the kind of man who shone with dramatic style. He gained respect slowly. He gained it through results. He became known as someone steady, serious, and able to carry responsibility without making a great performance of it. That may sound simple, but in Rome, it was powerful. Many men wanted glory. Far fewer could do the dull, difficult work that held an army or a province together. Step by step, Vespasian built a reputation, not as a legend yet, not as a ruler yet, but as a man people could trust when conditions were rough and pride alone could not solve a problem. And that reputation, formed far from luxury, would one day carry him much farther than anyone expected. Because the empire was moving toward danger, and Rome would soon need exactly that kind of man. As the years passed, Vespasian moved forward in the hard Roman way. Not in one leap, not in sudden fame. He rose through service, discipline, and the patient habit of doing difficult work without complaint. He served in the military. He learned command. He learned pressure. He learned that an officer could not simply speak with confidence, because men followed actions more than promises. On campaign, a leader had to watch everything. Food mattered. Weather mattered. Timing mattered. A weak decision could cost lives, and a careless officer could lose the respect of his soldiers very quickly. These years shaped Vespasian deeply. He saw rough roads. He saw tired men. He saw the real machinery of empire, not just its shining face in the capital. Later, he also entered public office. This mattered too. Rome was not ruled by swords alone. It was ruled by taxes, law, administration, and the endless labor of keeping distant lands connected to one center. So Vespasian became more than a soldier. He became an organizer. He became a problem solver. He learned how power moved, how provinces were managed, and how fragile order could be when pride became stronger than judgment. Imagine him watching Rome from this wider view. The empire looked mighty, but underneath, it needed maintenance. Armies had to be paid. Roads had to stay open. Officials had to stay loyal. The state survived only when many difficult parts worked together. This practical understanding made him different. He was not a man of fantasy. He was not a man of show. He believed in structure, effort, and the kind of leadership that could carry weight day after day. That may not sound heroic at first, but in troubled times, such qualities become rare treasure. Rome was slowly entering one of those troubled times, and the man who had learned to endure hardship would soon face a test far greater than any march or battlefield. Because talent can help a man rise. But only crisis reveals whether he can hold an empire together. Then the empire entered a storm. It came fast, it came hard, and it showed how weak Rome had become beneath its grand image. Nero was gone, the throne was empty, power was contested. Men claimed the empire, lost it, and were replaced with shocking speed as fear spread through the Roman world. This was the year of chaos. Armies made choices. Senators made bargains. Every group wanted control, and every new ruler seemed less secure than the last. For ordinary people, this was frightening. Who was emperor today? Who would survive tomorrow? When power changes too quickly, people stop trusting the future and begin living from rumor to rumor. For soldiers, the situation was just as dangerous. Loyalty was divided. Orders could shift overnight. A man might fight for one leader in the morning and hear by evening that Rome had chosen another. Some men saw this moment as a chance for ambition. Others saw it as a trap. Vespasian saw something else. He saw that the empire could break if no one strong and practical stepped forward. At that time, he was already respected. He had military experience. He had political skill. Most of all, he had the kind of reputation that mattered in hard times. People believed he could endure pressure without losing control. Still, the path was not simple. To move toward supreme power in Rome was dangerous. One mistake could destroy him. One false ally could end his life before he ever reached the capital. Imagine the tension. Messages crossed provinces. Troops watched and waited. Every decision carried weight, because this was no longer about one man's success, but about the survival of the empire itself. Vespasian did not rise in a peaceful season. He rose in confusion. He rose in exhaustion. And that is what made his emergence so important, because Rome was no longer asking for brilliance alone. It was asking for rescue. But winning the throne was only the first challenge. The harder task was still ahead. When Vespasian finally became emperor, Rome did not receive a glittering dreamer. It received a working ruler. It received a builder. And after so much confusion, that may have been exactly what the empire needed most. The civil wars had left deep damage. Trust was weak. Money was strained. The empire still looked large on a map, but inside, many parts of it needed repair. Vespasian understood this at once. He had seen war. He had seen waste. He knew that a broken state could not be healed by performance alone. So he began with order. He worked on finances. He restored discipline. He tried to make the machinery of government function again, because peace is not only the end of fighting, it is also the return of structure. This was a different style of leadership. Less theater, more labor, less distance from reality, and more attention to what ordinary Romans could actually feel in daily life. And then came one of his most powerful ideas. He would build something for the people, not a private palace, not a hidden pleasure garden for one ruler, but a vast public arena that would belong, in symbol and in function, to Rome itself. This choice mattered deeply. It was political. It was emotional. It told the people that a new age had begun, and that imperial power could be used to serve the public image of Rome, rather than the personal fantasy of an emperor. The place chosen carried meaning too. The great amphitheater would rise on land associated with Nero's extravagant world. What had once reflected private excess would now become a space for public gathering, spectacle, and shared identity. Imagine the message in stone. Rome was turning a page. The empire would rebuild. And Vespasian, the battle-hardened soldier, would not only defend Rome with armies, he would help reshape its heart with architecture. This was the true turning point in his story. He had won power. Now, he would try to give power a visible form, and that form would become one of the most famous buildings in human history. The great project began in stone, dust, and effort. Workers gathered. Plans took shape. And in the heart of Rome, the new amphitheater slowly began to rise. This was not a small building. It was enormous. It was ambitious. It was designed to hold a sea of people and give the empire a powerful new public symbol. Imagine the sound of the work. Hammers struck stone. Voices echoed. Day after day, men carried materials, measured space, and turned imperial vision into something solid and visible. The structure would later be known as the Colosseum, but in its own age, it was the Flavian Amphitheater. Its very name mattered. It tied the building to the new ruling family and announced that a different chapter of Roman life had begun. For the people of Rome, the message was clear. This was for the public. This was for the city. After years of fear and political struggle, here was a monument that ordinary citizens could see, enter, and remember. Vespasian did not live to see every stage completed. His son Titus continued the work. Later, Domitian added more. Yet, the heart of the project belonged to Vespasian's vision, because he had chosen to begin it and set its meaning for the empire. Soon, the amphitheater stood as one of the grandest spaces Rome had ever known. Crowds could gather there. Voices could rise there. The empire could present itself there as powerful, organized, and united under a new order. But beyond the spectacle, the building said something deeper. It showed what kind of ruler Vespasian had been. Not perfect, not soft, but practical, determined, and focused on turning victory into stability and stone into memory. That is why his influence spread far beyond his own lifetime. He helped restore confidence. He helped reshape Rome. And through this vast arena, he left behind a message that later generations could still read without hearing his voice. Yet, the most lasting part of his story is not only the building itself, it is what that building still teaches us today. Today, when people think of Rome, many still picture that great arena. They picture stone arches. They picture vast crowds. And often, without realizing it, they are also thinking about the life of Vespasian. He began as a soldier. He lived through hardship. He rose through effort. And when Rome was wounded by fear, civil war, and uncertainty, he became the kind of ruler who tried to rebuild rather than simply shine. That is the heart of this story. A man shaped by discipline. A man tested by chaos. A man who helped turn a broken moment in Roman history into the beginning of a more stable age. The lesson is quiet, but powerful. Great things are not always built by the loudest people. Sometimes they are built by steady people. By those who keep working, keep learning, and keep carrying responsibility when life becomes difficult. In that way, this story also connects beautifully to your English journey. You do not improve in one dramatic day. You improve step by step. One sentence, one listening practice, one new word, one calm moment of progress at a time. Think about the Colosseum. It was not created in a single breath. It rose piece by piece. Your English can grow in the same way, with patience, repetition, and trust in small daily effort. So if your progress feels slow, do not be discouraged. Slow progress is still progress. Simple practice is still practice. And every time you return to English, you are placing another stone in something strong and lasting. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this story gave you peace, curiosity, or a little motivation, please share in the comments where you are watching from and what your local time is right now. And if you would like more calm English stories like this, please subscribe and continue the journey with me. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and goodbye.
And before we say goodbye, I want to take a moment to thank you from the heart for being here. Sharing stories like this with you is something I care about deeply, and I hope this one brought you a sense of calm, reflection, and a gentle feeling of progress in your learning.